Welcome to March, which is also Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. I'm Kimberly, also known as Cancer Warrior Colostomy Queen. I was diagnosed with stage 2A rectal cancer back in July of 2015. After undergoing treatment for approximately a year, I have been declared NED ever since, and so I'm on my fifth year. So I wanted to share some of the symptoms that I was experiencing because it's one of the most common questions that I get and not often talked about. So some of the things that drove me to go and get checked out, I just had these plaguing symptoms and I just didn't know what was going on. So I'm going to show you some of those. So feeling off. Basically, I was not feeling my normal self. Like something was off, didn't know what it was exactly. Couldn't pinpoint it, but it's like my intuitive self knew I was sick and was giving me these warnings. So I was just feeling off, not feeling completely myself and not sure why. Which brings me to the second symptom, which is bloody stools. I have asterisks next to it because it's important. The bloody stools, I've had them off and on for a few years, but it was nothing big. It would just be like a little scant amount, like you could barely see it. And I thought it was because of hemorrhoids. I've had babies. My doctors have always told me that it's hemorrhoids whenever I've talked about it. So I just assumed and went on with that. Well, in January of 2015, I noticed that the blood in my stools was increasing. It was more than scant, but it was not enough to know exactly. So I started just keeping record of it and just noticing what was going on. Well, I scheduled, about I think around February, it was still continuing and I was still feeling off. So I called my OBGYN, got in, and did the initial test, which is called a fecal occult test, where you put a little bit of your bowel movement, your fecal matter, onto a little swatch, and then they send it off to be analyzed and see if you have any signs or symptoms for colorectal cancer. Well, lo and behold, mine came back. This was in March that I took the test. Mine came back negative. So my OBGYN thought it's just hemorrhoids. I was feeling more than ever by March that something was not right. And I impressed that upon her during my visit. And she said, well, if you continue to not feel well and things progress, let me know and I will schedule you for a colonoscopy. So that was March of 2015. So months go by and the blood is increasing. I'm starting to feel worse. So by the time I went in July, by the time they got me in for my colonoscopy in July, for March, the blood had gone from just scant amounts to like a cycle, like a menstrual cycle equivalent in my toilet. Whenever I went to have bowel movement, I was losing blood and very little stools. So that was a huge marker. So keep track of that. One of the things that I did that helped me was take pictures, because you can't describe or catch the amount of blood. When they say, well, how much blood are you losing? I don't know. But I took a picture, I showed it to her, boom, I was scheduled for that colonoscopy the very next week. Now I know why. Eek. So I put an asterisk by this. So any type of bloody stools, even if your doctors tell you that it's hemorrhoids, if you feel off and trust yourself and at least ask for the fecal occult test. And you can go from there. One of the third things I was feeling was fatigued. I am a naturally hyperactive person. And during this time, I was homeschooling my 3 kids. No, they were actually in school. I was homeschooling them. I homeschooled them before. And then I was, working with my sorority. I was like national board president of my sorority at the time. And so I had all these responsibilities and my 3 kiddos and, wife and all this stuff. And my fatigue levels, I had never experienced that because I was just all of a sudden tired all the time, more, just the feeling of being off became even more prevalent. So the fatigue was another indicator that said something's not right for someone who is naturally hyperactive. And it would just come out of nowhere. The fourth, the fourth was bloating. I had a lot of bloating towards the end because I wasn't voiding completely. And it turned out that I had a fist-sized tumor in my sigmoid colon, which is the curve right in that little pocket. So it's a big deal. So I had a fist-sized tumor in my sigmoid colon that was not allowing the fecal matter to come through, except in like pencil-shaped, or thin-shaped feces. So if you notice that your poop texture and shape has changed and it's more like long and lean, that's something to talk to your physician about. Just my poop schedule was all off. I've run chronically constipated all of my life. So I've had poop issues all of my life. And I need to get to the bottom of that. But when I got cancer, then it brought that to my awareness. So the bloating, which I normally, had with my menstrual cycles, but this time I wasn't having menstrual cycles and the bloating was there. So that was worrisome. Another thing was not completely voiding. So when I would go to the restroom to have a bowel movement, it would be uncomfortable and I would be sitting there for a while because I never felt like I was getting it out. And sure enough, I wasn't. So what was happening was because I had that fist size tumor, it was backing up all of the fecal matter into my system. As a matter of fact, when I got my colonoscopy, when I woke up from the procedure, they were like, "We are shocked that you made it this far and that you haven't obstructed and perforated up until this point." That was July. So I went from January to July, and that was the news they gave me because the tumor was so big and it was just obstructing everything. They could barely scope me to see what was happening. So that's pretty big. So not voiding completely. So if you are on the toilet and you're feeling like, I'm not voiding completely, my stools are thin, they're not the normal shape size, I'm seeing blood in the toilet, I'm feeling fatigued, dizzy, just not myself, then that's the time to empower yourself and go to your doctor and get checked out. If they tell you no, you keep going back and you keep impressing upon them to do it because the earlier you're diagnosed, the better. So just think from that time from January to July, how much bigger my tumor grew. If it had been taken seriously in January through March, that might have made a difference in between being a stage 1 and a stage 2. So early prevention is key. So get screened as soon as you can. They've lowered the screening ages to 45, I believe. And I was 47 when I was diagnosed, which is young. So get screened, keep a poop record, and take pictures if you have blood in the toilet. And if you're feeling any of those symptoms and you're just not feeling yourself, go get checked out. Because colon cancer awareness is a thing. And by the way, check out my shirt, which has my name and all the survivors and those who have fought and left us. I honor all of my fellow warriors today, those whom have transitioned, those who are still in the battle, and those who are on the other side of the battle and in the battle of recovery, like myself. So I'm sending all of you love, peace, and light. And for those of you who are wondering, what's going on with my body or my family member's body, I'm sending you guys all the same love and light and hoping that you find your answers. So again, get screened, protect your assets, fight colorectal cancer. Yes, March, Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Fight on. Fight on. Fight on. Thank you. Have a good one.